So Jeff Hafley left Boston College yesterday to become the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. You are going to see commentary that says this is just another example that college football is broken and that coaches are getting out of the sport because they can't stand the state of the game, NIL restrictions, transfer portal, blah, blah, blah. It's broken, can't handle it. And I don't think that's true. I don't think you can judge this case by with that in mind. Who isn't going to move from the Boston College head coaching job to become a coordinator in the NFL? Who's not taking that job? Jeff Jagodinski, who was the head coach there, and had led Boston College to some success, got fired because he was interviewing for NFL jobs. It's probably been 15 years now. Jeez, it doesn't feel that long. But he got fired because he was interviewing for NFL jobs and I guess didn't explicitly get Boston College's permission to interview for those NFL jobs. It is not unprecedented for Boston College coaches to go from Boston College to the NFL. And it has everything to say about the state of Boston College and the allure of the NFL as much as it does that college football is broken, coaches can't stand the current climate, yada, yada, yada. I mean, you can maybe make that argument, and there might be some truth to that. There might be some truth that Jeff Hafley felt like, I wasn't going to be able to get recruits into Boston College. I wasn't going to be able to get transfers in here. The NIL is non-existent. Therefore, I can't compete, whatever. It has as much the ACC stinks, and it's not getting any better anytime soon. And if Florida State can get out of the grant of rights, that conference is going to crumble. If you thought the Pac-12 took a complete nosedive and vanished quickly, watch what happens if Florida State can get out of the grant of rights in the ACC, because that conference will turn into the haves and the have-nots so damn fast you wouldn't believe it. And I don't know that I would have a ton of faith that Boston College is included in the leftovers. Truth be told. I don't know that I would feel great about Boston College's spot in the, at that point, Power 3 if Florida State is able to get out of the grant of rights. So you can say all you'd like about, and I've shared before, I don't think that college football is broken. I think it's inconvenient. And when you're used to convenient, inconvenient can feel like broken. But I don't think college football is broken. I don't think there's as much consternation as people think there is about NIL, transfer portal. Like, is it a disaster? Yeah. Like, for instance, I'm not going to sit here and I can't opine about the NCAA / North Carolina, Tennessee attorney generals filing. I can't. I don't have the capacity to have that conversation. I'm not knowledgeable enough to sit here and tell you that I think that an injunction is going to be. I can't tell you, but I can tell you that. Is NIL perfect? Hell no. But it's imperfect because it was so quickly rushed, and that the NCAA is the shell organization that governs like baseball and gymnastics, but not college football, not college basketball, the sports that most people watch and care about. It doesn't really govern those sports. Because now the response, if you get an NCAA notice of allegations against you, the correct course of action is to give them the double birds and say, like, don't tread on me. That's the quickest way to find success in an NCAA investigation these days, is like, yeah, we're not going to cooperate. We're not nothing. Double birds, eat it. D-Generation X crotch chops, and that's the end of it. I just don't think that college football is as broken as everybody pretends that it is. Like, does it suck and is it fun to bitch about the NIL and the transfer portal and coaches' salaries and constantly 24/7 recruiting, even inside of the dead period? And you're constantly making back channels to recruits and guys that are at other programs saying, like, hey, if you're not happy there might be a spot for you here. Does that suck? Yeah, probably a whole lot, I would imagine. A whole lot, I would imagine. But it's still the pinnacle. It's still what so many dudes got into the profession to do. Now, I'm not saying you can't get into a profession and then go like, hey, you know what? I hate this. Like I went to college and no friends that like got their degrees in certain fields. And then about 3 months into their working lives went like, I hate this. I'm not doing this. And went back to school or got a different job or whatever. So I'm not saying that you can't get in the profession and then be like, oh, wait, you know what? I hate this. But for so many guys that got into coaching a Division I position group or being a Division I coordinator or being a Division I head coach was why they got into the profession. And so they're not just going to leave that for the first piece of ass that comes along that gets them out of that job. Jeff Hafley is leaving to become the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay freaking Packers after he got into college coaching. After coaching in the NFL, he has an NFL background. So the idea that he would be a candidate to jump out of college football because he just can't stand the way the sport is constructed currently, and we're going to continue to lose these good coaches. Like, the guy's an NFL coach to begin with. And when you're stuck in neutral at Boston College, where I don't think he's maxed out by any stretch of the imagination what Boston College is / can be in the college football landscape, but the ceiling is not that much higher from being 8-4, 9-3. That's just the reality of the situation, coupled with the fact that given one court saying, actually, this contract isn't valid, you don't have a seat at the table anymore. It's a real easy decision to then get up and just say, you know what, I'm going to the NFL, and I'm not going to deal with the headache of. Again, I'm not saying NIL, transfer portal, recruiting aren't headaches. They are, absolutely, 100%. College football, being a coach, there are so many different things that are behind the scenes, procedural, paperwork, so many other things that you don't have to worry about, that you do have to worry about in college football, that you don't have to worry about in the NFL. And it's probably a pay raise to go be the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay freaking Packers. And if history shows anything, give him 2 good back-to-back seasons where he's got a top 10 defense in Green Bay, and there are going to be other NFL teams that are knocking on his door asking him to be their head coach. I don't really think there's a pathway to go from Boston College head coach to NFL head coach, barring a 12-0 national championship level season or a couple of seasons of 10 wins, and you are producing NFL talent left and right that they're just not really going to produce at Boston College. So a guy with an NFL pedigree goes back to the NFL to put himself in position to become an NFL head coach. I don't know how you then connect those dots to college football is broken, NILs run amok, transfer portals outrageous. Like, that's just not the reality of the situation. I guess it can be both if that's your prerogative. If you believe that college football is broken, that the NIL is just too much for coaches, that they don't like deal, it's breaking up locker rooms, it's fracturing friendships, whatever. I don't think that happens really either. In some cases, yes, somebody might say like, hey, it's bullcrap that guy gets more NIL money than I do, and I'm not coming back unless I get. But for the most part, like, the third string center knows that the starting quarterback is worth more money than he is. This isn't like some shocking revelation to these kids. But I just don't think that I just don't know how you can look at a guy with an NFL pedigree going back to the NFL for a prominent job for one of the sport's preeminent franchises as this idea that, well, the only reason this is happening is because coaches can't stand college football right now. It's in a broken state and they don't like it. I think there's way more to it than that. And to try to boil it down to just one simple thing or to overgeneralize what has happened, why it's happened, I think it's disingenuous to do such a thing. I think it's easy to connect the dots of like, oh, a guy that has a history of coaching in the NFL is going back to coach in the NFL. Again, is this an inconvenient time for Boston College? Hell yeah, it is. Is it a bad time? Of course. Are they now likely to have to scramble to either fill that job with somebody in-house and hope it goes well? Yeah. Is that a shitty spot to be in? Yeah, it is. But the idea that this guy's going to take a pay raise to go take a job that could potentially set him up for an NFL head coaching job, and it's because he doesn't like the state of college football. Stop it. That ain't it. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you get all the great college football content that we're pumping out here on Saturday Glory. If you are listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel, and we certainly appreciate it. We'll be back at it on Sunday here on the Daily Huddle with Saturday Glory.